Hi, YouTube.
So
this is going to be either a very long or a very high level wrap up of what was the New 52, and
so technically we've done the end of 52 with Convergence and with Multiversity.
At Convergence, from everything from there forward, they did not have the New 52 branding on them anymore.
Right.
But these books still were in that numbering.
Right.
And we got a reboot with DC Universe issue 1, which I'm sorry guys, that's off camera, you won't be able to see it. I'm just
We're literally pointing to it because it's on the wall.
Yeah, so
because it's still
we're gonna do I don't know how deep the dive is gonna be, because if we were gonna talk about Darkseid War, Final Days of Superman, and the last 3 volumes of Scott Snyder's Batman, probably each one of those deserves an hour, and we're just not going to do that. Now, Garen, in his wisdom, and I agree with him, says that we really ought to just be doing Final Days of Superman. And the reason that we're not doing that is the way we get to Final Days of Superman involves Darkseid War. Batman at that point is back to being Batman. If we only did Final Days of Superman without discussing how Bruce Wayne got back, we would be missing a big piece of Batman. So
the last time we talked about this, we talked about Batman was dead.
Yeah,
he'd killed the Joker
at the end of Endgame.
Yep.
So we're gonna boot the recording, but I wanted to kind of explain to you guys on YouTube why this video may be a little bit longer or a little bit more high level. If we try to get it to 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
The one thing we try not to do in any video that we record is we try not to be snooty. We try to be very down to earth and very, very simple explanation, and try to make it so that if you had never read it before, you could still try to read it. That way you're not missing something along the way, because that does happen. I mean, people start talking about things, they go, well, remember blank, and you're like, remember what? What happened? So we try our best to keep everything pretty concise.
Yeah. So we're going to boot the recording here, and then we're going to record through as high level a jump of this. I really do want to spend the most time on Final Days of Superman. And I guess really we ought to start with Batman.
Sure, Batman's easiest. Yeah.
Batman is the easiest here. Yeah. Hi guys, and welcome to another DC Comics special from the Printed Panel Podcast. This is wrapping up the New 52. I'm David.
And I'm Garen.
And
this is a very special version of the Printed Panel Podcast, where we're talking about death, life, afterlife, next level, what's coming. Right? That's because
I feel like you're about to witness to me about Jesus, man.
No, but that's where people keep comparing to Jesus. So
Superman does have a Jesus analog.
He does have a.
Okay, so guys, we already. If you're watching our YouTube station, you're gonna experience deja vu very quickly. This episode is going to be basically tying up all the last threads of the numbering that began in the New 52.
Loose ends.
We're gonna go through Batman first. So previously on the Printed Panel Podcast, you found out that in Batman Endgame, Joker and Batman are dead.
Yep. So he sacrifices himself to make sure Joker is dead.
Right. Yeah. At the whatever metal pool that allows Joker to maybe resurrect and all that good stuff.
Yep.
And Powers Inc. comes up with a suit.
The bunny suit.
A suit and a mech that
Jim Gordon
allows a 45-year-old Jim Gordon, which is a way of an age down for Jim Gordon, because let's be honest, Jim Gordon has been 3 days for retirement for the past 45 years. He is the ultimate Murtaugh character. I'm too old for this shit.
I'm too old for this shit.
And so Super Heavy, Volume 8, is some of the most criticized and some of the most hated Batman issues of all time.
But it's still Scott Snyder, so you know it's still very good. I mean, that's not a judgment. That is literally the truth. It's Scott Snyder. He's an amazing writer.
So I'm not going to spend a whole hell of a lot of time on the bunny suit. I will say, the bunny suit, as you can't help but calling it.
That's what it is. It's a bunny suit.
No, it's not. It's the predecessor to Batman Beyond, and I want to hit you with this comic book right now. It's important, damn it, and that's why it's important. In Batman Beyond, the current continuity, you find out that Powers Inc. creating this suit ultimately leads to the AI and all of the tech getting into Batman's suit.
Right.
It really is kind of an Iron Man suit.
Part of that AI as well.
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's always been part of the issue. The Brother Eye. Exactly. Yeah.
So
Brother Eye's been a problem for a long time in DC comic books.
This is a thread that will get pulled again.
Of course.
Many times in the DCU. Yeah. I suggest you read that on your own. However,
well, let's be honest. If you haven't read, I mean, honestly, we're all comic book people here. The people who are watching, we're all comic book people.
Amongst friends, we're all comic book people
it's
here.
It's true. I mean, that's a really good way to put it. The reality is if you haven't read the DC Batman run, you're kind of cheating yourself.
Yep.
I can't say the same thing about the entire Superman run, but I want
to know how much of it Tomasi wrote, because
there were parts of the 52 that were just phenomenal. I've said this before. Red Hood and the Outlaws was always, from start to finish, was amazing.
And you always normally then say Starfire's naked.
Well, you just took it from me.
You do point that out.
Really, you really could. Fine.
All right.
I wasn't gonna say it anyway.
Back on track of this very long, drawn-out episode.
Yeah, you should read the Batman series.
You find out in Super Heavy that Bruce Wayne is alive.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know he's Batman. He gets a girlfriend. He starts working in a youth center. Gordon comes to him and asks for his help a couple of times. Gordon knows.
Oh, yeah.
Gordon knows.
Here's the thing. Gordon has known in most universes that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. The voice, the intonation, the mannerisms, he's known for a very long time. He just plays it close to the vest because it's like... But, because you remember when Batman dies and Dick takes over as Batman, he says, "You're not him. Something's not right.
Right.
You're not him." Of course I am. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. No, you're not. I mean, it's like, I don't know what happened to him, but you need to bring him back. So, yeah, Gordon knows.
So, this villain comes along, who I don't think we've seen since, Bloom,
yeah.
Who is basically a giant freaking sunflower scarecrow.
Yeah.
I don't know how they dreamed that garbage up.
Bloom wasn't the first appearance. I think we saw Bloom years ago with the original Batman villains, because there have been like thousands of Batman villains.
I don't know.
Including Kite Man, which we've only seen a couple times.
Tom King really liked Kite Man. Be careful. Tom King will show up and beat us both up over Kite Man. Calm down.
Man, who comes Who comes up with? It's like mustard and ketchup, man. I mean, condiment.
What is with you today, man? Can we stay on point?
Fine. Bloom Man.
So Bloom
Man,
who is again a giant flower-based villain, is kicking the crap out of Gordon and the suit.
Yeah.
Duke, who I do think it is his first appearance, which is why, by the way, I gave up on this. I liked Gordon. I liked the suit. And as I found out they were bringing Bruce back, I'm like, well, none of this means anything now. Stupid book. I'm giving up on it. So this was my first read-through of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Duke, who is one of the kids at the youth center, has figured out that Bruce Wayne was Batman, and something happened and he doesn't remember it. And in Endgame, Duke's parents were affected by Joker's
they were driven insane.
Exactly,
yeah.
And so Duke, who eventually we all know becomes Signal,
who is a metahuman.
Right. And was very important to the Tom King run, and has been a big part of Detective, and I don't know, another Bat Kid. Why not? I hate Duke, but at least I know where he comes from now.
Yeah.
Duke forces Bruce to remember he's Batman by standing him in front of a train, or a subway train that's oncoming, and the light makes him remember the bat flying at him. And he
oh shit.
Bruce then goes back to Wayne Manor, and Alfred, who had his hand cut off by the Joker, he's the one-handed Alfred now, refuses to answer the door as Bruce is trying to come into the manor, because Alfred wants Bruce to go be happy. Take your girlfriend, take your humanitarian project with these underprivileged kids, work at the community center, and Bruce kicks in the door, and Alfred's ready to fight him to stop him from
becoming Batman again.
This sets the stage for what Tom King did, getting Alfred killed. These are the seeds that make that more powerful. Alfred does not want Bruce to be Batman. Period. So
you can't blame him. How many times has he repaired damage? How many times he's sewn him up? How many times he's done surgery on him?
And you find out how many times Bruce has died.
Yeah.
So there is a machine that Bruce thought of in his first incarnation to make sure that Gotham will always have a Batman. Now you might think that that concept prevents Batman Beyond from ever coming into being, but it doesn't. It makes certain that Bruce can be cloned, and his clone will reactivate just at the moment of the oath to avenge his parents' death. And every incarnation of Batman will have different villains, will have a different thing going on with Gotham, a different thing going on with the world, and functionally, because he's a clone, Superman can't tell the difference. His heartbeat's the same.
So is this where we get the Last Night on Earth?
It's exactly where we get the Last Night on Earth.
Yeah.
Now, the epilogue volume is actually in the future. It plays out an old Bruce Wayne who's dying, activates a new clone, explains to him all the thing going there. Please read this in your own time. I'm not going to deep dive it because for tying up the New 52, while it has some really cool implications, this is one that's best read on your own. So,
by the way, when we get to Rebirth, think about this. When we talk about Rebirth,
Joker
think about this.
And that version of Batman died in that cave. Now, the machine has different levels of memory, and the cowl captures everything and transmits it to the machine. So Bruce is aware that he's not the original Bruce, except for in Last Night on Earth. So
yeah, for some reason that was taken away from him. That's interesting. You know, because in Last Night on Earth, well, because that's a different, that's an Elseworlds now, but it's black. That's a black label.
But I don't know that it's Elseworlds.
It actually is a direct connector to this.
Yeah,
really
it's a direct
is.
connector.
It's just a future connector.
Yeah.
But in Elseworlds, that ability for him to remember is completely taken away. So, which is interesting. But again, in Rebirth, think about this in Rebirth.
It's very important.
Yeah.
And it's part of why the first volume of Rebirth is so jarring in the Batman run. Because if Batman was dead on the plane, his clone activates, and there you go.
Yep.
And there is some lag. It's not instant.
No.
Which you find that out in volume 10.
Right.
So there's a time that Gotham is without a Batman. My question in all of this is there a resurrection machine protocol for Dick Grayson?
And is there one for Alfred?
Is there one for Alfred?
Because we all know Alfred's dead. He died in issue 77 in the current Batman run. So, will we have another Alfred, or are they going to replace Alfred with a dark multiverse version, which is very possible?
The outsider takes over for Alfred, and Batman becomes a bigger dick.
I mean, but we have a lot of possibilities. We really do. So, but that then brings us to
Darkseid.
The Darkseid War, and I know for a lot of people,
we're going to high level this, guys.
For a lot of people,
this is great comics.
A lot of people, they think of this. They think of the animated movie that came out, which this is loosely based on.
Yeah, this is the source material, but they went
very different. Now, the animated movie was fantastic.
Well, the reason they had to go different is because of the depth of what was going on here, and it is a little confusing. Yeah. So, at some point in time, Darkseid came to Earth, and I don't know if ravaged is the right word, or if she loved him, or what, but an Amazonian mates with Darkseid.
His daughter's name is Sin, right?
So Grell is the woman he mates with.
Right.
She gets with child. Hippolyta realizes...
Hippolyta?
Yeah, thank you.
Hippolyta, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you say. Whatever you said.
Wonder Woman's mom.
I can't pronounce shit, so...
But you just did.
Pronunciation isn't my strong suit.
I ate my strong suit now. Woo! Okay.
Remember how long it took me to get Tynan? I mean...
Hey, me too. I mean, it doesn't look like Tynan. It looks like Tinian, but it's not. It's Tynan.
So...
I'm sorry, James.
Grell is pregnant with... In the past, with Darkseid's child,
Mm-hmm.
who is prophesied to destroy everything.
Right.
Child's born. She runs away from Themyscira.
Right.
Oddly, one I can say, and raises the child in the Amazonian tradition, and the child is massively jealous and envious of Wonder Woman.
Of course.
But all of this doesn't start with that.
No.
All of this starts with Mobius? Morbius.
Mobius. Yeah. It's M-O-E. Yeah.
It is not. For sure it is not.
It's the Mobius chair.
Well, it's not M-O-E. It's M-O-B-I-U-S. If it's that. Stand by. That's Metron. Why are we saying
Metron? I'm sorry. Metron is in the chair. It's a Mobius chair, but Metron is in the chair.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's not M-O-E. It's M-O-B.
Mobius.
Right. So.
And Metron is killed.
So. So. Mobius seemingly is killed.
Right.
And his chair is vacant. And he's a new god.
Right.
So his chair knows everything about everywhere.
Essentially, his chair is the Watcher.
And Darkseid shows up on Earth to destroy everything because of a call from his daughter.
Right.
She says, "Come on, let's go." But his daughter actually has also summoned the Anti-Monitor to try to get her father's approval by getting him the anti-life equation.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't quite go down that way. So bad things happen. The Justice League intervenes. Scot-free, Big Barda, the whole nine, throw down.
By the way, Tom King does do a really cool book called Mr. Miracle. And in Mr. Miracle, he basically goes to Apocalypse because Darkseid is dead and someone has to take over for Apocalypse.
Who took over for Apocalypse in the interim? Lex Luthor.
Exactly.
And this is why this is important to do before we deep dive Final Days of Superman. So there's three major things that come out of this. And I'm going to just jump to the three major things. Batman sits down in the Mobius chair, and he is one of the only mortals with a strong enough mind to work the chair.
Yeah.
So one of the first things, and I love this sequence, we talked about this on the podcast as it came out.
Right.
Who killed my parents, says Bruce.
That's right.
The chair says ping, speaks into his mind. Yes, Joe Chill, that's right. What's the Joker's true name? First friggin' thing he really wants to know. The first question, he's fact-checking that it works.
Right.
It says ping, his eyes frigging glow, which is amazing. And no, that's not possible. And we don't find out until the tie-up issues here that the answer to that is there's three Jokers.
Right.
And
which is that's the biggest deal. That's when at the beginning of Rebirth,
Hal Jordan and him are talking,
yeah.
And Hal says, "Well, what did it say?" And he says, "There are three," and it didn't answer the question. And he's trying to use his skills to then determine who the three Jokers are, which leads to Fabok and John's three Jokers run.
Well, and there's the thing too. So in Rebirth, at the very, very beginning, when the Flash, Wally West, is breaking through the Speed Force, what is Bruce looking at on the Batcave computers? The three Jokers.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a theme that's been continuing for a long time.
So Power Grid and Power Ring survived.
The multiverse reforming.
What's the event? Forever Evil.
Yeah, exactly.
We thought they were dead.
Power Ring was dead.
We thought they were dead.
Is this a new? Basically,
that's how Jessica Cruz ends up with a ring.
Ah, that's right. Okay.
So the first time you see Jessica Cruz as a Lantern is in Justice League.
Yeah.
And Owlman has been on Earth the whole time. After all of this ties up, Superman, all the Justice League become gods. Flash is the god of speed. Batman's the god of knowledge. Superman's the god of strength. Blah 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 blah.
One thing we gotta remember to talk about too is Superman.
Yeah.
Superman is basically thrown into the fire pits.
So, to take the fight to Apocalypse, Superman goes with Luthor to Apocalypse to overthrow the planet.
Right.
And gets thrown into the fire pits.
Right.
Which powers him differently because his cells absorb solar radiation.
Right.
And the fire pits have a different type of solar radiation. He turns into this negative version of himself.
Right.
They kill Apocalypse.
Yes.
Apocalypse is dead, and then he's reborn to his daughter.
Right. Reborn to his daughter, in which we see then again rebirth.
Yeah. And that's
Creepy
the
as
whole Justice League Odyssey.
Exactly.
He's gone from a baby back to Darkseid, but he's a different kind of Darkseid.
Yeah, he's a different Darkseid.
More of a prophetic.
And in Rebirth, in order to advance and speed up his growth, what he has to do is kill gods.
Yeah.
And so that's what he and his daughter do, is they kill, Hercules, Zeus, whoever they have to kill to basically to give him the power to regain who he is.
So at the end of this, and I think we're about done with Darkseid War, and it's a really, really, really good read, and there's lots and lots of fun detail to it. At the end of this, you see the Mobius chair empty, and Metron walks up and says, "Hey, Owlman, thanks for helping me plan all of this so that we could bring all these changes about in the universe." And Owlman's sitting in the chair, and he's like, "Just be careful. Now that I've taught you how to access everything," and Owlman's like, "Oh, no. My mind is much stronger than Batman's. I won't be overloaded from it." And the next panel is both of them turned to ash, and the chair just sitting there, which leads to Wally West ending up in the chair. It also is another time that the smoke rising off of ashes is a calling card of
Dr. Manhattan.
There you go.
So, and by the way, we obviously don't see Flash in Mobius chair until the end of Flash Forward, which has just happened 2 months ago.
But
so
huge lead ups to current events, to important things.
So again, all of this has been planned way in advance. We now know that there's one character who's been pulling all the strings for a very long time. It happens to be Dr. Manhattan. In the beginning of Rebirth, what do we see come out of the time stream?
Yeah.
The pin, the happy face pin.
Mm-hmm.
So we know we see the comedian's pin embed itself in the Batcave wall. Why is that? Oh wait, because Manhattan has been manipulating this in the entire time.
He has been rewriting the timeline the entire time.
So last thing we want to talk about is,
and this is honestly, I'm not a Superman fan, guys, but the Final Days of Superman trade paperback was fantastic. Now I read part of this when it originally came out because I'm like, wait a minute, Superman's going to die? I need to read that because I really like Death of Superman. That's great. But I didn't understand any of it.
This is a very, very different Death of Superman.
So Superman goes, the new 52 version of Superman goes through 3 events.
He has a battle with Rao, which is his god.
Right.
The Kryptonian god.
Yeah. He has a battle with Rao.
Battle with Ulysses.
Well, okay, wait a minute. No, Ulysses and the Rao are the same.
The same thing, same entity. Okay.
He has a battle. He gets into it with the DEO.
Right.
And the DEO trap him in a kryptonite cavern.
Right.
That messes him up.
Which poisons him. He doesn't realize how bad it poisons him, but it poisons him.
Then later he fights Ulysses or Rao or whatever.
Right.
And he, for the first time, throws off the big solar flare.
Right.
Which depowers him, but overpowers or overloads.
Right. And he depowers him for 24 hours.
24 hours, he's true vanilla mortal.
He is literally immortal. He is as human as everybody else. So that's it. But
right.
So yeah, that's the big deal.
And then the third event is the trip through the fire pits of Apocalypse. And between the 3, and they were very careful to call it a malignancy. Superman had cancer.
Basically, yeah.
Superman had a developed cancer that was killing him. It was a kryptonite style of cancer.
And essentially there is, and he realizes after multiple tests going for days on end, there is no cure. If he can't cure himself, no one else can. This is, and you know what's funny? Do you remember All Star Superman? I know you can't stand Brian Hitch. I got it, but no, Frank Quitely you don't like. Excuse me.
Frank Quitely,
Excuse me. But that is that's probably the best Superman book ever written, honestly, because you're talking about a death. I mean, a noble death. I actually cried at that book. I mean, there's because it's like you realize that there's no more Superman.
Hey man, I cried when I beat Breath of the Wild last night, so I can't say anything.
So
Zelda was okay.
Oh my God! So, but no, I mean, so that to me was big. But then after when I read this, which was much later, it's like there's this. He literally is trying his best just to say goodbye to Lana, just say goodbye to Lois, just to say goodbye to Wonder Woman. He's literally just trying to hang on long enough to do this.
He actually, so he says his goodbye. He goes to Lana. They're talking the way they've talked since they were kids. She knows 100% who he is.
She's known forever. Yeah.
And because she knows who he is, she can't kind of buy the fact that he's going to die.
Right.
He goes to Lois and he says, "I need you to write my story."
Yeah.
And this is a Superman whose identity is known.
Yeah, he was outed in Action Comics.
Yeah.
So,
which is funny because the idea of him being outed by Brian Michael Bendis seems so earth-shaking and different. And meanwhile, Steven Stiles is probably yelling at the podcast, "You idiots! They did that in the New 52."
Right.
I didn't read it, so I didn't know.
Well, but he didn't volunteer in the current run with Bendis. He voluntarily did it.
Yeah.
So
he's outed. Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
He's been Wonder Woman's lover. He isn't telling her until he can get contingencies set in place. He talks to John Henry Irons. He talks to Kara.
He talks to Batman.
He talks to Batman.
Well, Batman has to help him find.
Batman is super in denial.
Oh yeah.
That
Batman's like, "Look, we can fix this. We can fix this." And says, "No, you can't fix this." But what's funny is this is the most sentimental Batman I think I've ever seen.
Yes.
He's like, "You're my best friend. You can't go."
And the reason he's a sentimental Batman is he's a young Batman.
Exactly.
And it's important. That's why, guys, I insisted that we do those other two pieces that really we probably should have spent more time on.
But this is you're right. This is a young Batman. This is we can do this Batman.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is and Superman can't find Kara. She's been a Red Lantern by this point. She's kind of lost some of her power, and she's actually with Star Labs trying to regain her power.
With the DEO.
Is a DEO.
This is how they set up the Supergirl show.
So she's with them trying to help, and they're like, so basically he comes to rescue her, not realizing she doesn't need to be rescued. And she's like, "Listen,
he tore that lab up like a villain. He was just, how dare you?" And then she's like, Kal-El, calm down.
He comes in and it's like, superhuman identified, superhuman approaching, boom, superhero, superhuman here. And he starts to rip things open, and they're like, "But Superman," he says, "Shut up." It's like, they think.
It is the angriest Superman I've ever seen.
But again, this is not.
The militant.
This is the militant.
I like this Superman.
Yeah,
though.
Me too. I really did.
I really want to own the fight where he develops his solar power in the few issues afterward, because that has to be good.
Didn't have the super bloomers on.
Yeah.
That was just this
so
was a good Superman.
So
then he goes back to it goes back to the Fortress of Solitude.
And Wonder Woman shows up.
And she's like,
"When are you going to tell me?"
So, and he's like, I'm sorry.
And they're lovers.
And Supergirl is like, I'm
out.
Gonna go.
Y'all
gonna hook up. It is epic when you hook up, so I'm just gonna leave. So he tells her. By this point, though, we have now discovered that there is another Superman who has appeared out of nowhere.
And another Clark Kent.
And
he glows with solar radiation and fire.
The funny thing is, so this guy, when he's in normal form, he doesn't look like Clark Kent. He just looks like a dude.
Yeah.
But when he is Superman, he looks like Superman. He literally transforms. And what you find out is there's a solar radiation that escaped once he hit that solar blast. It basically floated.
It encoded on his DNA.
It encoded on this prisoner's DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy who, I can't remember the guy's name. It was not important at all. He basically thinks he's Clark Kent. He goes to work, and of course he winds up killing three Metropolis PD because they're trying to take him in. Becomes Superman, then goes to Lois and says, "Don't you believe I'm Superman?" And she says, "No, you're not Superman." But and he now, by the way, when he is in the Superman form, he's this glowing, fiery form. He doesn't look anything like what Superman would be because he's glowing.
But he doesn't recognize that he's not. And he has memories.
He has Clark's memories.
He knows who Mom and Pa are.
Yeah.
He knows who Lois is. And he thinks he's Wonder Woman's lover.
Right.
Which comes into play because eventually Wonder Woman and Superman get a call saying, hey, this guy's a problem.
This guy's on a rampage.
They go capture him.
Well, but
they take him to Argus.
But more importantly, though, they're right. They take him to Argus first.
Right.
And
thanks to Steve Trevor.
His power essentially overwhelms everything in Argus, and Ulysses almost kills Superman again.
And he realizes, he's like, oh, he's dying anyway. I don't have to do this.
I'll sit right here until Superman dies. Don't you worry about it. So then the guy escapes again, and where does he go? He goes and takes Lois, the Lois Lane of this Earth, and he goes to go find the Lois Lane and the John Kent.
He says, hey, I've got to show you something. And he takes him to Salinas, California, which is where Superman Prime. Now, guys, this is the Superman before the New 52 and the Superman after New 52. This is the Superman we saw in Convergence.
This is the Red Bloomers Superman. This is now, of course, he's not in that same outfit.
The real Superman.
His name is Clark White in this one. It's Perry White. He's Clark White, and his son is John White, and his wife is Lois White. Imagine that. So this guy appears, and of course, then immediately starts fighting Clark.
Well, he's fine. They're sitting across the table talking with John sitting there.
They're making pancakes.
And the guy threatens John.
And that's when Superman goes crazy.
And he's almost middle-aged Superman.
Yeah.
He's got a beard. I keep saying.
Yeah.
Once you know who he is, he's going to grow a beard. He snaps. He's like, you stay away from my son. And at this point, John doesn't know his dad is Superman.
No.
For him,
it's just dad.
It's just dad.
Because John's powers haven't also developed at this point. He's
Correct.
very young. So powers haven't developed.
So the guy hits Superman Prime, and underneath his farmer gear, he's wearing a black
Kryptonian life suit.
Right. And it has the big S on the chest. Yeah. And so they end up starting to fight.
Yep.
Superman, New 52 Superman, New 52 Batman, and New 52 Wonder Woman show up, and a wonderful fight happens.
A knockdown drag out.
Interestingly, Superman Prime bounces on the whole thing, grabs John, grabs Lois,
takes him to the Fortress of Solitude.
To his Fortress of Solitude.
Right, not but his Fortress of Solitude, which he built
and
years
Lois
earlier.
is imagining the whole time, like,
you weren't going to tell me about this?
How did you do this?
Well, I didn't need to tell you. How we had
our other place was where you guys could get to if I wasn't with you, but you guys can't get here without me, so, this is our place.
So then he leaves them behind, and he goes and fights this Superman with...
Well, no, he doesn't.
Well...
No, he doesn't. Hold on, you got a little out of order.
Skipped a little bit.
So, Wonder Woman and New 52 Superman and New 52 Batman start throwing down with this imposter who's had encoded DNA.
Right.
And he's way too powerful.
Oh yeah.
And
at one point they knock him out, and he reveals his actual identity to them.
Right.
He tells them who he is, and they're like
some guy.
He says what his prisoner number was. He actually says, I'm an inmate in blank by blank. So they figure out who the guy really is. They figure out what's actually happened to him. But again, he's so powerful, there's no way to take him down.
So New 52 Superman grabs the guy and is flying him off planet. I think his plan is to throw him into the sun. I might be wrong.
But then...
But New 52 Superman is dying.
Right. So he
goes up.
Superman in life suit.
Well, hold on. You still missed a thing. So he takes him above the atmosphere, and New 52 Superman explodes with his solar flare, which overpowers the fake Superman's powers.
Yeah.
And who apparently just dies.
Right.
Because nobody catches him. He's just gone.
Right.
He may have been incinerated, but New 52 Superman's falling. Wonder Woman's about to jump up and try to catch him, and here shows up Superman Prime. Catches him, lowers him to the ground. Lana Lane runs up. New 52 Lois runs up.
Yeah.
They start to say goodbye to him, and that Superman dies and immediately turns to ash and crumbles,
Gone.
leaving Superman Prime standing there. And one of the last conversations between Superman Prime and the New 52 Superman is, you'll be Superman. Oh man, this visual, that's amazing.
So old Superman, bearded Superman, does go to help young Superman, but young Superman knows what he has to do, basically punches him and makes him fall back so he doesn't get sacrificed.
Right.
Knowing full well he will be Superman when he's the Superman when he's gone.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things about this book too is, as you're seeing the epilogue, you're seeing the very end of it, and here's Lex Luthor looking at his Superman mech suit, his Iron Man Superman suit.
Yeah. And he's going to make a better Superman than Superman was.
So and I found what's so interesting is when you go into Rebirth from this, Luthor knows there shouldn't be any more Superman. He doesn't know about the life suit Superman. He has no clue about this person. But Batman should know, but then doesn't. And Wonder Woman in Rebirth should know and doesn't. Yeah. It's interesting. So
suddenly Wonder Woman and Superman were never lovers.
There's questions to be answered, and I think,
and those threads haven't been pulled.
No. They haven't been pulled, but really they kind of have. With the button. When you read the button, you know what's happened. You know what's been pulled.
Well, and Doomsday Clock helps with that a bit too.
And that's the thing we're going to talk about. That's one, like, in the next week or two. Next couple times we do this with DC. That's the thing we're going to talk about.
We've got to do DC Universe Rebirth issue.
Just we'll do a whole episode
and then we need to map out the Rebirth events that we're going to do following that. And that'll bring us to current continuity, and then we should be done with specials for a while.
Yeah. So this has been a whole lot of fun to do. Hopefully you guys have gotten something out of it. Hopefully you've said, hey, listen, I love these books. I want to try them all.
I read through 7 graphic novels, guys. I read through 7 graphic novels.
So hopefully you guys can kind of look at these things and say, hey, maybe I should try that.
Yeah.
Go to
Final Days of Superman.
Go to your local go to your LCS, go to your local comic book store, and say, by the way, I really want to try the 52. What's good to try? And if they tell you nothing, you go, hold on.
Hold on, let me show you this podcast so you can educate your customers.
So, I mean, and we're not the be-all, end-all, but...
Yes, we are.
But we do try to give you as much information as possible and not dumb it down. So, hopefully, this has been really great. You guys have learned something. Hopefully, you've...
learned something. We're an educational podcast now.
But we kind of are.
We're here to entertain you guys.
Okay, hopefully you've been entertained.
Yeah.
Have I not entertained you?
Yeah.
See, I got the...
Very good.
Thing.
That's
nice. Okay. So, it's been a lot of fun. You guys have a great week. And hey,
if you have questions about Rebirth or excuse me, New 52, let us know. We're going to roll forward into the Rebirth stuff. I think that Marvel's continuity is a little bit easier to keep up with.
Yes.
Than this, and it takes a lot less to catch up on. But these are some definite building blocks you need for current continuity. You need it for 3 Jokers. You need it for Last Night on Earth. You need it for some of the other stuff going on. And I think as they reboot Wonder Woman, we may get the thread pulled on why she doesn't remember being Superman's lover. I don't know. We'll see.
So thanks a lot, guys. And remember, please make sure you enter your list for the contest. We're going to do a live drawing on Facebook for the contest on the 24th. Should be a lot of fun.
Like, share, subscribe, comment.
Yeah.
That's my request. We'll keep doing this for you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for listening. Okay, love you. Bye.